Tuskers in match 1 of Alliance Tournament Day 4.
Welcome to Day 4 of the Alliance Tournament 15. I'm Rain and I'm joined by Jin Tan, and we're going to be commentating Tuskers versus Brave. So Tuskers brought double Sleipnir, Basilisk, double Gila, Ferox, double Moa, double Manticore. Jin, do you want to introduce Brave?
Yeah, Brave have brought this really archetypical quad BC core that we saw a lot of last AT, with the new Daredevils being used as the tackle and kind of taking advantage of the relatively underpointed Harbinger there to make up the difference. What do you think about this matchup, Rain?
I think it's going to be really interesting. So Tuskers warped in staggered, and Brave kind of warped in more at range. However, the teams are like at a 90-degree angle from each other, so they're actually closer than one would think when compared to being 180 degrees apart. Both have picks, so you have like the Bazzi and the Guardian, which are considered the tankier but slower logistics compared to the Scimitar and the Oneros. So I'm going to be really curious to see how these logistic pilots fly.
Yeah, I really think that Brave Collective have an advantage here. That Balgon is going to be so effective against this shield comp. They're going to be able to newt out the tank of those Sleipnirs and maybe those healers as well. And obviously those webs are a hugely powerful tool in catching them.
Yeah, we do have about 5 seconds until the match starts. We see the links going off, which are, I would say, very critical in these types of matches. You always want any sort of edge you can get. Alright, the match has started. Immediately we see the Brave tackle flying in, and actually Tuskers kind of burning away, their support burning away as the... Oh, we also have a bomb going off. So that single Hound has launched a bomb directly towards the cruiser core, I would say, of the Tuskers. And it looks like to have missed the majority of them, except Behemoth and the Ferox.
Yeah, but it's hit. They've actually managed to hit some of their own Griffins and Daredevils. You can see there a lot of shield damage gone on in those frigates. That Griffin is being primaried here by the Tuskers. Meanwhile, Brave seems to be trying to kill off some of their light support. You can see there the Balgon is focusing heavily on that Moa, trying to turn off his hardeners and webbing him the hell down, whilst Brave Collective have already lost the Hound, and they've just lost another Daredevil as well. Tuskers here ripping through their support.
Yeah, and they're also primarying this Guardian at the same time. So not only is the Guardian trying to keep these squishy frigates alive, but he's also trying to keep himself alive.
Yeah, maybe that bomb run might have killed a couple of rep drones, because really he should be holding a little better than this, even against the drone spam of those healers and the ranged fire of the Feroxes and Moas.
Yeah, and Tuskers actually seems to be sitting quite pretty. We see an attempted ECM jam on that Basilisk, I would assume from the Griffin. However, we see the Moa actually catching reps, so we can assume the Basilisk is not actually jammed.
Yeah, and that's such a heartbreak for Brave Collective. If they'd managed to get a jam off early on in this match, they would have been able to rip apart those Manticores, rip apart this Moa, and they'd be really making a huge play here against the Tuskers. But right now, that Guardian is dipping into structure, Yukiko not being able to keep himself alive just under the sheer weight, and there he goes. That's a huge blow to this Brave Collective team.
Yeah, usually if you lose a little bit of your support being your support frigates, you can kind of bounce back from that, but losing your Logi is very difficult to come back from. And it also, I'm not quite sure whose Tuskers is primarying next. Looks like might be that Navy Brutix, maybe the Harbinger, and they already took out that Griffin.
Yeah, I want to point out just some amazing piloting here from Electronicus in the Tuskers, being able to avoid all of this damage and all of this offensive control that Brave Collective have brought, just staying at range, playing to his outs, and knowing that his team can take down the enemy Guardian and then keep him safe.
Yeah, so I know a lot of people back home were really hoping for Brave to at least kill something of the Tuskers, and it looks like they might still have a chance with that Manticore dipping in low shield. Yep, he barely caught reps there. But it looks like Tuskers have this in the bag with the Navy Brutix down already on the Brave side.
Oh yeah, this is absolutely heartbreaking for Brave Collective. I really thought this matchup was good for them. You know, they brought such a strong composition against it, but Tuskers just simply outpiloted them here.
Yeah, many people call the Alliance Tournament a rock, paper, scissors game, but clearly there's more to it than just what ships you bring or what ships you ban. Obviously, you have to be able to execute well, and Tuskers did just that.
Yeah, I can't help but think that Brave Collective's decision to not bring a flagship to this tournament hampered them here. If that Balgorn had been a flag Balgorn, this match could have gone in a completely different way.
I believe not bringing a flagship is actually a better idea, especially against, I would say, like defending champions of the Tuskers. They obviously won AT14, so if you know that your chances going in are you're going to lose, it's better to save that, because just because Brave lost today, they go to the losers bracket. It's not like they're completely eliminated from the Alliance tournament.
I know, but I can't help but want Brave Collective to upset. That would be amazing.
They can upset in the losers bracket. There's some strong teams in the losers bracket. So it looks like Tuskers has just been cleaning up. Looks like there's still an ECM icon on the Basilisk. I assume that's just some drones from the Harbinger, Navy Harbinger. That Manticore is still holding on. Brave have been eliminated without killing a single Tusker ship.
Yep, sometimes there's a fine line between bravery and simply running into your enemy's guns, and unfortunately, Brave managed to do the latter today. So with that, let's send it back to the studio.
Is a union of powerful mega-corporations have brought its people both misery and triumph.
Hello everyone and welcome back. After a pretty quick first game there, we had Brave versus Tuskers. Minmatar Rush going up against the Balgorn NBC core. Now, typically the NBC core requires a flag Bal to be at its true strength. Brave did not submit a flag, which obviously would have helped their chances, but given how one-sided that was, I don't think it would have been a match decider. We do in fact have a replay ready of that initial bomb run that went on. Unfortunately, our replay tool does not show bombs, so we're just going to have to look at where the effect happened. So here we see the bombs coming in. We should be able to see it land, and it appears to, if we pause it as soon as we see the bomb damage happen on the lower end here, we should, oh, is he going back? Okay. Play. There we go. So here it goes down. We've got those warriors chasing after the light ships, going after a daredevil, catching up with it, and it looks like the bomb damage went off. I can't even actually really tell where it was, but it was somewhere at this point. But yeah, it seemed to hit the lower end there. So guys, do check out this replay tool. Oh, it was up here. Good. Yeah, so guys, do check out this replay tool on our website. It's all freely available. You can watch the matches just as soon as we can. It's all a publicly available tool. So it looks like it was on the Ferox here. Still, moving on. Reload, I want to ask you, typically, how does Minmatar Rush fare against the Bal NBC core? Do you expect Minmatar Rush to win? Do you expect the NBCs to win? Is it pretty even? Was this just down to skill? Like, talk me through this from an archetypal point.
So basically, you've got Minmatar, like a classic Minmatar Rush versus the Quad BC. It's actually a pretty tough match. It's really about execution, because you have less, basically you've got a very heavy top end, so you've got the two Sleipnirs. Usually you would have a Simi, but they actually went for a Bassi, so that's a pretty interesting, because they actually banned Simi, so obviously they had to change out the Simi for a Bassi. And you've got the two Gilas and the Feroxes and the Moas, which are pretty standard. The Moas, they're not blasted, they're rail Moas and Feroxes. Versus Quad BC, it's like basically you have the Balgorn, you have to try and control the Sleipnirs, because if they get on top of you, that's a lot of damage going down on whatever ship they're going to be on top of.
Making the correct choice there, the Bal putting a web on each of the Sleipnirs to slow that incoming presence. Do you think that primarying the Moa was the right choice? Do you think it might have been time to maybe burn the Basilisk, because we know the NBC cores can do, or maybe just start burning a Slep, because Sleps are big on rep, they are not big on HP, because once their ASB runs out, if you can newt out that Basilisk with preferably a flag Bal, then those Sleps that's going to die real fast to NBC core. Do you think the Moa was a mistake here, or do you think that's a solid call?
I think the initial Moa call is a good choice because Moas can either be a traditional XLA speed tank with no buffer, and you might be able to nuke it really quickly. But from this case, it's obviously a passive buffer fit, and the Bassi was able to wrap it just fine. So if they knew the Moa wasn't breaking, they were like, all right then. What choices do we have? You have to switch target. Manticore is a good choice. The Bassi, from what I can see, he's actually in a really good position because right now all the quad BCs are kind of split apart doing their own thing. As you can see there, the Bassi is completely fine. You know, looks like there is a Daredevil trying to go for around him, but he's actually going for a Manticore instead.
Yeah, I mean, that just swarm of, I believe they're warriors from the Tuskers. Typically in Minmatar Rush, a lot of the time you choose ECM drones, even sometimes. But this warrior swarm, in addition to the Gila drones, was absolutely laying waste to the low end of Brave Collective. By putting the Balgorn in there at 23 points, you've got to do something different. Either you've got to downgrade your MBCs to regular BCs, or you go for this lighter bottom end. And I think the story we see here is that these warriors out from the Tuskers Co, probably combined with rapid lights maybe on the Gilas, we need that to get that confirmed, just absolutely decimated the Brave lower end. And really, you know, NBCs and Balgorn are good, but they do need that support. They need help applying their damage. They need something a little more there. And I especially personally am not a big fan of the Hound. I don't think it adds a ton to this comp in terms of like just stylistically, Hound and Griffin, either go for your bombers, go for a bomber thing, or go for ECM. Like pick the variant you're doing, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Still, moving on, we have our next match of the day in but 10 minutes. We have Vidra Reloaded going up against Test Alliance, Please Ignore. Now, I think this is a pretty good match. Now, we've already seen Test kind of not necessarily be at the strength that they used to be. However, Moderator, one of the Icelandic casters this year and last year, he did an interview with the Test team captain in Moderation episode 3. That was on Reddit recently. You guys should totally go check it out. Obviously, not much time before this match, but afterwards, perhaps. He's been kind of rebuilding Test, building up the pilots. He's a new team captain. Like, Test have, I again say, somewhat diminished, but still a very strong mid-tier team, still very valid. And then Vidra Reloaded, very strong team absorbing some of the Afterlife members. I'd say that Test this year are probably on the lower mid-end of team strength. Vidra on the very high mid-end, breaking into that higher tier of teams, as our old friend Chessa would say. So Reload, what's your picks for these match, Vidra versus Test? Do you think it's just a Vidra stomp, or do you think Test are going to make it a nice bloodbath?
I think Test will definitely make them fight for the win. Absolutely, because Test, they're renowned to be like the underdogs. Most of the time, they do really well in tournaments. They do consistently quite well. Vidra are extremely strong. They have some old Russian Hydra members in there, so they know what they're doing. But I think Test could, mess something up for Vidra. So there could be some potential mix-ups here.
Yeah. So we have a team composition breakdown graph ready to go that we'll pop on scene. Nikal, why don't you talk us through this and tell us a little bit about the main comps we've seen as represented here?
Sure. So not as skewed as we saw in the previous graph. We just see BC Core a 50% win rate versus drone compositions. Drone compositions another 50% matchup versus rapid light missile launcher spam. BC Cores though slightly over the 50% mark at 67% versus rapid light missile launcher spam. Expecting that to be just because the sort of BC Core is a lot more EHP there, whereas rapid light missile launchers devastating against small frigates and destroyers, but again gonna struggle against the bigger targets.
Yeah, I mean, with all that EHP, with rapid light missiles, you need to kill something before you run out of light missiles and have that long reload. Navy battlecruisers, very, very good at having the HP to withstand that fire. Moving on, let's have a little look at their results thus far in the tournament. Vidra Reloaded have beaten Band of Backstabbers and Out of Sight. Test Alliance, Please Ignore, have beaten the Bastion and the Ronin. Now, I think that taking out the Ronin, that's a nice feather in your cap. If Test just lose 2 games from here, killing the Ronin you should be absolutely happy with that as a tournament. But perhaps maybe beating the Ronin is a sign of things to come. Maybe Test are the team this year that goes on a beautiful little run, just killing some of these mid to higher level teams going through. So with a Ronin kill, I think that definitely plays to the strength of Test this year, even though we have been talking about being a bit diminished, as I mentioned before, perhaps now unfairly, having killed the Ronin. But yeah, so this is definitely definitely going to be a great match before we send it over to the casters. We do have some time coming through here, so it's important that I mention that you guys should totally vote on all of these matches at vote.eve-nt.uk. That's vote.eve-nt.uk. Links will be spammed in the chat, hopefully, by our wonderful moderators and admins. There, you pick who you think is going to win the next match, and if you are correct, you'll be put in a pool of people, one of whom will be picked to win a billion ISK. We had a lot of people coming out, so let's see that if we've got the results of the first match. The first match in Tuskers versus Brave, the winner of the billion ISK there was Captain Mongrel Man. Congratulations, Captain Mongrel Man. You have 1 billion ISK on your way shortly if it is not there already. If we move on to the bans here for the match that's coming up between Vidra and Test, there we go. Vidra have banned the Harbinger Navy issue and a Brutix Navy issue. I think a ban pair that's coming through to be almost nearly as common as a Simi Bazzi ban or a Guardian and Neros ban of past tournaments. The Harbinger Navy, Brutix Navy ban coming through is quite common there. And then Test have banned another really common ban pair, banned Guardian and Neros. So Guardian and Neros and Harbinger Brutix Navy issues. Nick, talk me through these bans. What do you think we're going to see in this match given these 4 bans here?
Quite frankly, Shield. It seems that is the way that we're going. Interesting to see banning out both of the armor logi, like leaving absolutely nothing there. I'm really interested to see why they're doing such a push towards Shield. They must have a tactic lined up for this, or it might just be that their compositions that they practice with are more heavily Shield based and they're just looking to push it in that direction.
Well, if we remember, Test did have balls of steel to bring Logifrigs themselves against the King team of Logifrigs, which is the Ronin. So I suppose the Test have now taken that crown for them, having beaten them at their own game. Test could still bring, the T2 Logifrig comp, which they've shown that they are more than capable of using, or we could, as you say, go into a Shield versus Shield. Reload, given these bans are coming through, do you think that Harbinger Navy issue, Brutix Navy issue is a good ban if you don't want to face MBCs? Obviously, there's a lot of variants. You bring in the Hurricane Fleet issue, you can run the vanilla BCs. There are options, or do you think that it's a solid ban pair, knowing at the very least you're going to strongly mitigate the power of that archetype without their 2 mainstay damage ships?
Basically, the quad BC core, what makes it strong is the Navy battlecruisers and 80 HP, tracking, and DPS. So if you have those 3 things in these quad BCs, which are basically, it's just a normal battlecruiser that's just like 2 times the strength. It's like crazy how much power difference there are between a Navy and a standard. So if you're banning out 2 of the strongest Navy battlecruisers, you're severely weakening this quad BC core that's been very common. So even if Test wanted to bring, or whoever didn't want to ban those things, they brought their own crazy quad battlecruiser core or something, then you're going to be using T1 battlecruisers, which they're still good, but they are severely much weaker. And obviously with the Guardian and Neros ban as well, which, might be a bit, it might be not viable, but they still might bring, they could still bring something out of the table. Honestly, my prediction on the comp is drone spam.
Drone spam?
Yes, I'm going to go with drone all in on this one.
Shield drone all in, or just drone no logi?
Drone no logi, so like EOS's and Istos.
It's also important to remember that we have a viewing party going on once again today. It is not at Antenna, it is at the Gaming Alt Lounge. That's just around the corner from us. Really fantastic space of gamers. Tons of games, from retro games to a full gaming rig setup where you can play your esport games. They've got a VR place. You can get food. There's a bar which Nash destroyed himself at night before last. So definitely head on down there if you can. It's in Nottingham, so if you can get near. If you're near Nottingham and can come down for the day, please do so if you're not already here. Please do tweet to #ATXV, tweet to #ATXV with your comments about the AT going on thus far, on the matches. If you've got any questions for any analysts we have on about what you think of the matches or about the production going on here, do tweet those to #ATXV. Please also remember that we have an EVNT London meetup at the on the 18th of November, and then follow, subscribe, like the stream, and on our YouTube we get the matches up as quick as we possibly can. We had last weekend's matches up just within a day or 2. We're hoping to have the same kind of schedule for this weekend's matches as well before we hand it over to CCP for the final 2 weekends. Also, you will note from many of the commentators and analysts' backgrounds from their avatars in game, we have that IGC background, which you can get for yourself in game absolutely free. It's just one of the options you get. However, if you want something extra shiny, extra special, extra sexy for your spaceship pleasure, you can get the IGC skins, some of which are prizes for the EVE-NT Major and Minor tournaments, but CCP have released runs, for example, of the Caracal and the Drake just to be bought as with regular skins. However, it is time to go to the match. It is match 2 of the day between Vital Reloaded and Test Alliance Please Ignore.